I love you. Welcome back to the Couch Potatoes. You swung on in here. We're happy to have you. A little spider pun swung on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if mine is any good.
I was gonna say it's the sound of both the cat hissing and Spider-Man shooting his web. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am Spider-Man! I am the Green Goblin! I am J. Jonah Jameson! Okay, I am the Faceless Leon.
You're all of them.
I'm all of them. I'm capable of doing that with my Morphe face.
Indeed.
Yeah, you didn't know until right now. So yeah, this is
your
Green
morphability.
And my morphability. It comes in all shapes and sizes, you might say.
You tried to sue DC and Marvel for all of their shape-shifting characters. They were just like, this is based off of government experiments.
Yeah. Oh my god!
I want money for it.
I just really realized that I am our universe's Mr. Fantastic. The Faceless Leo.
Oh my god!
So this is Green Faceless on the Couch, and it is a podcast about movies and TV. What ability would I have? Didn't we talk about this in the X-Men? If we didn't, I feel ashamed.
No, I don't think we. Yeah, I don't think we did. I think we were about to, and then we skipped right the fuck over it because we were like, we got 15 more X-Men films coming up.
Right.
And now I'm throwing it for a loop. And in the area where it's not a mutant, it's a genetic experiment gone wrong, basically. Well, gone right. You can argue.
This is very much a classic comic book story setup, some kind of something science went wrong to make this hero possible. And
the government is always looking for super soldiers.
That's right. And they're just allowing crazy scientists to have their super spiders on display at the museum. Like,
yeah. This one makes no sense because it's just like,
I for some reason I thought the spiders were Oscorp, and I think
because
that
they should be. That makes more sense.
Yeah, I think they are in the Garfield movies, but I could be wrong.
Yes, I think they are. I mean, that's the one. That's the so. If I were to choose an ability to get back to that, I would probably choose super speed.
That's
or
regeneration.
I feel like the ability to just heal would be so fucking nice.
Yeah,
I would be fearless. I'd be like, fuck this, I can fall down this hill.
Honestly, if I were a mixture of the Blob and Mr. Fantastic that looked like the Faceless Leon, I could work with that. I mean,
you'd be all right with that.
I'd be all right with that. I mean, I don't think it'd be my go-to. I've always wanted to be able to fly, but I'd be able to glide if I had that.
There
ability.
are certain.
It's very.
There's certain niceties to being
applicable.
Yes. Applicable.
I'm silly.
There's certain. Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, there's certain benefits that come with being that, because it's just like, if you were, say, to be me, non-binary, it'd be like you can morph your body to be female whenever you want, and then back to male. And you can morph, if you wanted to be male, you can morph certain body parts to be more endowed.
You could. I don't focus in that area, when I'm being like neutral. So don't, it's like coming out of a cold pool. So just don't, it's not for looking, but when I'm concentrated,
you could,
okay.
Right. You could be lewd like DC's, I think it's the Plastic Man, who is like constantly just making himself into women's dresses, and they're just wearing him and not knowing it. Yeah. And then eventually he'll just pop out and be like, hello! And they're just like, oh my fucking god. And then they beat the shit out of him, because, fuck that shit.
Yeah. But seriously, flying... I did say that flying has always been my number one. And,
that would be nice.
I feel like a person who can fly rather quickly and still has above average strength, as I already do, then
look at you flexing them guns.
I can't help it. It's genetics. But anyways, I think that they can really do some good, just fly and punch, man.
I don't even know if I would use my abilities for good. Well, if I had healing, I feel like I would.
Right.
If I had super speed, I don't know. Actually, I mean, I feel like maybe it's the opposite. Maybe if I had super speed, I'd be more interested in helping. Well, no, I feel like I would try, but I would not become a superhero.
Yeah,
because I mean, there's so many people where I'm just like, fuck that person.
That is
I don't think I would be. I'm not qualified to be a superhero.
Moreover, I would just save on gas if I could fly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be.
I would
the
definitely
main
not
thing
be working. That's for damn sure.
Yes, but Peter Parker has to do both.
He wants to do both.
He was trying.
He's very excited.
Yeah. This starts with him in high school.
Yeah. He's apparently only like 16 or 17 years old.
But
played by Tobey
24.
Maguire, who's about probably like 30 years old in this film, and does not at all look like a teenager. Nor does Kirsten Dunst.
No.
Who is our version of Mary Jane.
Yes.
Again, supposedly 16 or 17, I would assume.
Yeah, well, maybe it's their senior year. I don't know. If it's their senior year, then they're 18. But
they do graduate in the movie. So
they do
it
graduate
is their senior
in the movie, but it's very kind of vague, the time frame this movie takes, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I know Peter does start college because he's immediately fired by his college teacher, Dr. Kurt Connors.
That's right.
He's always showing up late.
Yeah.
It's a throwaway Easter egg line.
And then they bring him in the next one, and then they never do anything
but don't
with
make him... Yeah,
they
never do anything with him. It's so sad. Not until fucking Andrew Garfield comes in.
Oh, boy. So...
It's ridiculous stuff, man.
Yeah, he's going to high school.
That's this movie's big problem.
Oh, is the time?
Sorry. I mean, no, it's the age of the cast. It's the time frame because it's very wonky what time period it takes in. But like it's trying to be big. And it's like it quite often succeeds, but like that's its main problem is like every time I've watched this movie, and it's been a while since I've watched it, like I was actually surprised when I was rewatching it that, I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there are things that stuck out to me. I was just like, oh my God, this is dated as fuck. And like, I don't know, Sam Raimi directed it. I think he did a good job with what he was trying to do. But yeah, the age of the cast, I'm just like, who thought this was a good idea?
I mean, particularly Joe... help me say his name, but Joe Manganiello. I don't know how to say it.
Sorry, I didn't even realize that's who Flash Thompson was. Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, he plays Flash Thompson, who is dating Mary Jo Watson in the beginning of the movie.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. He obviously does not look like a teenager. I mean, okay, there were some exceptions, like, your star football players who looked like fucking adults. But
right.
all of them look like adults. Even the ones who are supposed to be scrawny, like Peter Parker and Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn's played by James Franco, by the way.
He mildly looks like a high school student still.
Yeah.
Mildly.
Yeah, it's because of the hairstyle, though.
Exactly, yeah. It really is. Like, that does a lot to bring it a long way. But, like, that's another area that I even have another issue with it is, so, like, if you know your Spider-Man, Harry Osborn, Peter Parker, kind of good friends, so is usually sometimes Mary Jane Watson, other times Gwen Stacy, it goes, long list of lovers there. But Harry and Peter in this are portrayed as being best friends. Mm-hmm. But, and later on, Harry Osborn mentions, you've loved her since the 3rd grade. And he means it too. He's saying that, like, once they first met, Mary Jane Watson, which is another weird thing because she moved in when he was 6. But apparently he didn't meet her and fall in love with her until 3rd grade, even though Aunt May later on says, once you first saw her, you said, Aunt May, I've just seen an angel. Like, there's so many weird, like, misconceptions with all the love here. But what was initially was what I was talking about that bothered me was when Harry Osborn, when we first meet him, he rolls up with his daddy in a limo, and daddy is Norman Osborn, played amazingly by Willem Dafoe. But he's like, Dad, can we go around back? And his dad's like, why? And he's just like, because these are public school kids, and I don't want to be the recently, arrived from private school kid showing up in his father's limo. And he's just like, you failed out of all these private schools. So if Harry and Peter were friends in 3rd grade, in public school, mind you.
I noticed that too.
When did Harry go to private school? Like, there's so many, like, issues with the script. Then I'm just like, as I was watching it, I was like, what the fuck is happening? I'm so confused.
Maybe when Harry was going to primary school, Osborn was still trying to make it. Like and he was going to public elementary school, and then he got kicked out of all of the high schools, the high school preparatory schools that he was going to.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
Except that Harry also mentions he's always been rich and his dad's always been successful. Rich, but still.
And also,
I do like
another thing is that it could just be an expression. Like, you've been in love with her for forever. Like, since the 3rd grade, I think
he makes other comments of knowing Peter back when they were children, though.
Yeah,
so it's just
right.
Like there has to be some kind of connection between the two.
Somebody rewrote the script at some point and did not catch this, like, certain dialogue.
Yeah, the only screenwriter credited, I'm sure there were more that had hands in it, and I'll talk about Brian Michael Bendis here, but the only screenwriter credited is David Koepp of like Jurassic Park fame and some others.
Well, he could have done the rewrites.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he could have. But Brian Michael Bendis, who I was going to bring up, I know he was brought in to write some jokes that were almost completely ignored because this Peter Parker is not at all as quippy as Peter Parker in the comics usually is. Which is kind of a sad thing. I feel like Tobey Maguire has a good comedic angle, and I feel like the few jokes he does make are pretty good, but then he doesn't make a lot of jokes, and it's just like, all right, why didn't they just let him quip, Why didn't they just let him go?
I feel like they should have let him go, a lot more as Spider-Man. I do kind of like Peter Parker being shy and subdued. I feel like that works, but I'm not sure that that's how the comics reflected it or that 90s cartoon that we know and love.
I know the only thing I've really read of Spider-Man is the Ultimate Run by Brian Michael Bendis, which is like a 24 volume long run. It's huge. And then he also from there jumped off and created Miles Morales and then wrote for Miles Morales for like 4 volumes. So like good run. Brian Michael Bendis of course knows the character. They brought him in to make some jokes. His main joke was that when he saw the Green Goblin, when Peter Parker saw the Green Goblin, he was going to make some fun of the suit. Like, that's just Peter Parker's, or Spider-Man's thing, really, is to, like, make fun of the villains as he's fighting them. And he's just like, he's like, Peter Parker would definitely say something about the Green Goblin suit just being a Power Ranger, low-budget thing. And the executive producers immediately turned that down. They're like, no, we like the suit.
That doesn't mean Peter Goblin Parker wouldn't make fun of it.
They didn't want to. They said it cost a lot of money, and they were just like, "Nope, we're not making fun of this expensive thing." And I'm just like, "No, the suit's goofy as fuck." Like when we get to the Green Goblin, because he's the main villain of the film, Norman Osborn, Willem Dafoe. When you see him in this thing, it is a bulky, like very shiny, kind of metallic flight suit. Mm-hmm. And it's got an open mask. It's got a goblin face as the mask, and the mouth is open, and you can see through that mask Willem Dafoe acting within, which is kind of weird at times because it's really weird to see somebody's face moving in there. Yeah. I don't. It really throws off the image of the goblin. Like, because this is like I'm looking at it and I'm seeing a goblin from afar, but when it gets close, I'm just like, oh, now I can just see the man with that, and it's just.
It kind of reminds me of like, Greek theater a little bit. Like
that's fair.
Yeah, and he has a thing with masks, and they just are lining his study and stuff. And this is when the scene that Norman actually realizes that he is the Green Goblin, because it's a split personality sort of thing. Yeah. And there's this scene with a mirror, and all of a sudden the Green Goblin mask is on the arm of the armchair.
Yeah, I love that scene.
It's
too.
A great scene.
It's a good moment for Willem Dafoe to switch his acting style on a fucking dime. Yeah, and in camera too for the most part. And it's like it's really well shot. Like Sam Raimi always has a good eye for the camera. Like he makes it very fun and very moving. And that scene is great. So I don't know. It's just the.
Go ahead.
The theaterness of that mask just takes me out of the moment, because it's supposed to be this huge, like all these fight scenes with the Goblin are these deadly affairs where he's literally killing people, like vaporizing people into skeletons. And it's very violent and scary. But then you see the man behind the mask talking, and it's just like, it makes it goofy a bit. And I'm just like, man, am I supposed to be intimidated by this man, or am I supposed to be like laughing at his style? Like, it's, I don't know, I can't stand the outfit, and I really do wish they had just let Peter Parker make fun of it, because that would have, I don't know, it would have guided it more, Yeah. It would have been like, it was definitely, I'm supposed to be laughing.
Like, they were like, okay, we can't mess with Spider-Man's iconic outfit, but we can work with that. We can make that look more modern. But we can't have this guy flying around on a glider in a burlap sack and a pointy hat.
I get it, man. I do like it better than that. I like it better than the Ultimates version, which is like he's a big Hulk-like monster.
Because fuck that. Yeah.
Yeah, in the Ultimates, it's a very similar idea where he, Osborn's working on this super soldier serum thing for the government, and he injects himself with it, and that's where in the movie and in the Ultimates show, comic story, that's where he gains his power. That's where he, in the movie, as you said, it's a split personality where there's an evil version of him, kind of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but Dr. Jekyll's kind of along for the ride unknowingly, while Mr. Hyde is out, blowing shit up with the flight suit and everything.
Gotcha.
In the Ultimates comic, it makes him into this big, buff, beefy, like green devil-like thing.
Actual goblin.
That goes around destroying things. Yeah, exactly. And it's cool in the comics, but I'm happy they didn't go that route.
Yeah.
Especially with the Hulk coming out in just a few more years. But like. But I don't know. I feel like the suit just needs to be more cool. It needs to look like you can actually move in it.
Hey, I think like, it's kind of like real cool back in the 2000. Okay.
I really loved it as a kid, but when I'm rewatching, I'm like, this is like
I thought it was
more than a decade. Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember thinking, like, why did they change the Green Goblin? Like, I feel like they could have done, like, maybe he didn't need the pointed hat, but like he could just have a Green Goblin mask on because it was something that Harry had or something, and
or his love for theater, like
or his love for theater, But like that, I felt like the purple tunic and stuff and the green scale still work. Like they could have made it more like a chainmail kind of thing, in which they've done that in the comics. I've seen. And in animation, cool. I've seen them do that.
Right. It's just the whole costume. This whole movie comes like 10 plus years after Michael Keaton's Batman. Yeah. Where he couldn't turn his neck because of how the suit fit and everything. And this Green Goblin is so bulky. We're expecting him to have like Spider-Man to have issues fighting him. Like Spider-Man is fast and nimble, and this guy. He's displaying all of his moves really clearly because he can barely move his fucking arms. Like, he's a slow-moving man. Like I just didn't. It just makes it a little. The fight scene's just a little unbelievable because I'm just like, what in the fuck's happening here? Why doesn't Spider-Man just jump over him and just start pounding him right here? Like, what's going on?
Well, it is Spider-Man's first supervillain. So,
I know.
At this point, he's just used to stopping bank robberies and, getting old ladies their purses back.
Yeah. And I guess, we jumped into it before we even talked about Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Again, he's Peter Parker is in high school, as we mentioned, unbelievably in high school.
Yes.
But he lives with his aunt and uncle, Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Ben played by Cliff Robertson, Aunt May played by Rosemary Harris. Both, I don't know the general age of Uncle Ben and Aunt May in the comics or anything.
Are very old here.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're the oldest here than I think they've ever been. Really,
maybe.
No offense to Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson.
They are well. Anyways, Aunt May is quite old in that '90s cartoon. And I do feel like she was pretty much styled after the classic comic Aunt May, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've never read Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, I think is the artist. I've never read their Spider-Man run.
Ditko. Yeah,
Ditko.
Stan and Steve. We did get a Stan Lee cameo.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's the first, right?
I think so. I didn't notice it in the other ones.
I don't think he was in X-Men or Blade. Well, he shouldn't have been in Blade. I don't think.
Yeah. I don't know if he's had any hand in that or not, but whatever.
Yeah. So he does rescue a young girl from some falling debris or debris.
Some debris. So,
but yeah,
what you were saying about the plot.
Yeah. Aunt May and Uncle Ben, they see changes with Peter after he goes to that museum trip and gets bit by a spider. How it got out, why it's out, who the fuck knows, who the fuck cares. Why it's at a museum in the first place, I don't fucking know. Makes no sense. But it's fine. We get a cool CGI scene of Tobey Maguire's jeans changing and everything. It's funny. I enjoy it. That's like a weird Sam Raimi love, having to blend a little bit of CGI.
Yeah. Also, like that, the first thing that happens is a skull that flashes onto the left side of the screen, and it's like, what? The first thing I thought was, what does that have to do with this, Sam Raimi?
I know. I didn't. Yeah, there's some imagery that happens. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, this is so trippy and weird. Like, he loves his horror, so he wanted to make it a big moment. And then after he wakes up, Peter Parker puts on his glasses, realizes he doesn't need glasses anymore. Yeah. He looks at himself in the mirror and realizes he's a little bit of a buff dude. He's not like built, but he's
and the night before he wasn't. They showed that Sam made sure we knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that too. It's very subtle, but you can definitely I don't know if they filmed it before or after, if they used CGI or whatever.
I think it was really did nice. Some reps.
Yeah, it was just. That's what I thought. I thought it was maybe just a before and after. Like they filmed it when Toby first got on, and then afterwards, after he'd had like 5 months of training or what. Who knows?
Maybe.
But it is a good. I do like that. I think they did a good job at that because it's very subtle, but it's enough muscle build that it is a difference. Yeah. And it's just like, it's funny when he's like looking at himself in the mirror and he's flexing. He doesn't have like a huge bulge, but he's just like, oh my god, what is that? And then he runs down the stairs and like parkours down the last few steps, and it's kind of funny, and Aunt May and Uncle Ben don't see it at all.
No, it's just. But they hear the landing, and he's like, "Whoa,
whoa, hey, tiger, slow down, boy." That's Uncle Ben's the cool guy.
Yeah,
but their teenage adopted son, he is their nephew, but like they've adopted him basically. He's hit that age where he's like kind of drifting from them, and Uncle Ben, he doesn't really like that. He still wants to be the cool uncle, and everything. So he's just like, I'm gonna spend some time with him, And so he's like, I'll give you a ride to the library where you can study. Well, in reality, you know, Peter Parker's got these newfound powers and he wants to impress Mary Jane with a car.
With a new car!
I couldn't believe that was his motivation. When I rewatched this, I was like, really?
I was listening to Flash's car, like the reason why he got jealous and was like, hey, let's go get a car because Mary Jane likes cars. The car sounded awful. Flash Thompson's car sounded like shit.
Well, to be fair, the car that Peter was looking at wasn't that great either.
Yeah, it was like
it was a bit of a junker.
It was like $3,000 or something like that. Which
that was the other dumb thing is like he's gonna go to this underground boxing event kind of thing to win $3,000, and then he's gonna turn around and blow it all on a fucking car.
I know, man. It's New York. You don't need a car.
That's the fucking truth right there. And you're Spider-Man also. You don't need a car. Yeah. I know he wants it to impress, but still. That's another thing. Before I continue with the boxing thing, is it's very weird that this Spider-Man's webs come from his wrists. It's an organic thing.
Yes. I did want to talk about the powers. Like they show his fingers have these like little cilia on it or whatever you want to call it to help him they're barbed to help him grip surfaces like a
barbed
spider.
Hairs kind of thing.
And you know, that's kind of I feel like what he can do is in the comics. That's basically what his power is besides Spidey sense.
Right.
And super strength and agility.
Yeah. Right. He's got the strength and agility of a spider at his size.
Yes, exactly. But he, in the comics, decides for some reason to manufacture this web so he can swing from it.
He's just a genius.
He is a genius. Yeah. But what about his powers actually would make him decide to do that? Yeah, he can climb things, and he can jump really far.
Right.
Maybe that.
I don't know in all the comics, but in the Ultimates, he's working on it as like a chemistry experiment when he gets bit. And I don't remember. It's not web specifically, but it's some kind of just like sticky substance that he's just trying to. Yeah. And so it's just like when he gets bit by a spider, he's kind of looking at his experiment and been like, I could turn this into web shooters. Okay. And that's when that's what he ends up doing. And it's like, that makes sense. I think they even kind of do that with the Garfield version. Maybe. It's like, I think he designs his own web shooters, which is much cooler to me. I like
that he has the smarts genius to do chemist. That. Yeah. Here, he just gets good grades and takes pictures.
They really leaned hard into the I'm the photographer angle in this one.
Yes. I love it.
He's really smart with science, but they just ignore that for the most part.
So he tries to freelance through the globe, I believe. Or is that Superman? The Bugle. It's the Bugle. Yeah.
The Daily Bugle,
The Daily Bugle. So he goes, meets J. Jonah Jameson, who's played by J.K. Simmons perfectly in every universe.
You can't have any other.
Recast him. You just can't.
No.
It's perfect.
He's the only.
It's one of my favorite roles of him. He's so fucking funny.
But he is phenomenal in this role, and he's really quick too with everything too.
Yeah, so
which makes sense because in the newspaper world, he's bombarded with a lot of issues at any time, and it's really funny how he handles them in this by just like one quick writing to everybody.
Yes. He is
especially
the boss.
His wife.
Dude, I think it was my brother's technically, but we had a J. Jonah Jameson action figure, and it had a switch on the back that made its arms go up and down. Well, one arm go up and down, and the other arm is pointing, and the arm that goes up and down is a fist, and it came with a desk so that he could pound on the desk, and his jaw goes up and down too with the switch. So he's
oh my god. That's fabulous.
But it looked like J.K. Simmons. It was one of the movies action figures. It was fantastic.
That's genius, man. That's genius. I'm sure a lot of boys turned that into, and girls maybe, turned that into a different gesture, the fist going up and down.
So? You think so?
I feel like maybe they would have canceled the publication of that toy.
I don't know, man. That makes some stupid toys.
Yeah, I do love that aspect of this. The Daily Bugle and everything they do there is really fun. But, where were we at before?
Oh, I just wanted to say one thing about J. Jonah Jameson. When Parker brings in, we were talking about him being a photographer. When he brings in the pictures of Spider-Man, because that's how he's trying to make some money from being Spider-Man, basically. J. Jonah Jameson is looking at them and just trying not to look impressed. And he's like, Jet,
crap.
Yeah, you're right. It's crap because it's ratings.
It's for the kids.
Yeah. But he's like, I'll give you 200. And he's like, that seems really low.
No, honestly though, some of those photos, because they have an over the shoulder shot, but only for a few photos. And it really begs the question, how did Peter Parker get those photos?
Right. Yeah.
Because one of them is a close-up of Spider-Man climbing up a skyscraper. And it's just like, so the only believable idea is that Peter Parker was either leaning out of the window of a skyscraper, which is practically impossible, or on top of the skyscraper with a good close-up camera angle lens. Also practically impossible to believe. Like, it really just begs the question in this movie, how do people not know that Spider-Man's Peter Parker?
Yeah, right. At least at the Daily
Bugle. It's easy to piece this together.
Yeah. So...
It's ridiculous, man.
Let's kind of get to what brings everything together in this movie, I think. Because I think we talked about all its different components, really, but...
What? Well, I forgot we were talking about Ben, Uncle Ben.
Oh yes,
because
that's kind of
that is kind of what kickstarts everything. Yeah. Is as I had mentioned long ago before I got lost on that tangent. Ben Parker is he drives into the library for that for unknowingly so that Peter Parker can go to the underground fighting match where he kicks ass.
Yep.
But he kicks ass too fast. And doesn't make the amount of money he thought he was going to make, which pisses him off.
Yeah, they gave him $100 because he's an asshole.
Yeah, the guy was a greedy dick. Because, he was just like, the ad said you had to last 3 minutes in the ring. You lasted 2, as in you knocked him out in 2 minutes. And so Peter Parker was just like, well, that's bullshit. And so when he sees that guy gets robbed, he lets the robber go. He doesn't stop him. And he's just like, you can have the elevator. It's not my problem because that greedy motherfucker, pulled one over on me. Little did Peter know, he just let the man who was going to kill his uncle pretty much run scot-free. Yeah. And that's kind of what kicks everything off. What makes him want to do good is because, the last things his uncle had basically told him was that with great power comes great responsibility, the big Spider-Man quote.
And he kind of just throws it back in his face, too. It wasn't a pleasant interaction.
No. Yeah, and it's that trauma that makes him want to be a hero, that makes him want to do good. Yeah. And so when he, when he starts to figure out his abilities and starts to train himself, basically, he starts to try to do good. He starts to try to help people. And then enter the Green Goblin.
Yes.
He's trying not to help people.
He's trying not to. His motives seem kind of unclear to Spider-Man and the world. It kind of just seems like a maniac, really. But for the Green Goblin's motives are to get Norman Osborn as much power as possible. And to do that, he's going around killing members of his board, generals in the army, all sorts of things. And
opposing business companies.
Yes, exactly. And all the while, he's keeping this because it is a split personality. He's not keeping it from himself anymore, but he is keeping it from his son Harry, who is Peter Parker's roommate. and Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So eventually, spoilers, Norman finds out, and that's where the end game of this is going. It goes where that kicks off. He knows that Peter is Spider-Man, and so he uses that against him. And then it culminates into a couple of really great scenes.
Like I do like that aspect. I do like the final like third of this film, even though it feels really quick. I like his plans, like the Green Goblin's plans. That is,
they're very twisted.
They're very twisted, but he really does force Spider-Man to like be put into certain situations where he has to make, choices similar to like the Joker and Batman,
right? Where
it's just like, the Joker is testing him to his limits, to Spider-Man's limits, Batman's limits in that metaphor,
right?
But like it's, I really do like that, especially I'll say I don't really want to spoil the fights or anything, but there's a moment where Peter is left with the decision to save the kids or save Mary Jane,
right?
And I love that scene. That's a really good scene.
It is really good.
At the same time, the one scene that really is weird to me is the dinner scene before that. Kind of the scene where
it's where Norman Osborn finds out. Yeah, where he pieces it together and finally discovers it. But like, Peter doesn't know that Norman Osborn's the Green Goblin there. But every time I watch it, it very much seems like Peter knows. Like he's trying to he's just like, oh no, my enemy is across the table from me. I can't let him know my secret identity. And I know that it's just like, I can't let him know my secret identity. Right. But Norman is being quite probing at the dinner table.
Yeah.
So, it definitely feels like Toby is playing it as Peter knows that Norman knows. But I think it's more just like, why are you being so inquisitive? Why do I have to keep on lying to you? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it should feel.
Yeah.
But it really does not feel that way. And it's very odd. Like, every time I watch it, I'm just like, why is Peter so worried that his identity is going to be, exposed here? Because, like, to everybody around, he just got a cut on his arm.
Yeah.
And that's it. And, like, that's all he has to rely on. It's nothing. It's just like, he tells his story and that's it. And he just leaves it at that.
Yeah.
But like the way Toby's playing it, like you're saying, he's definitely playing it like, oh no, they're gonna find out I'm Spider-Man if they figure out what this cut is.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, I don't understand this scene. It feels so weird. Ugh.
Well, should we do closing statements?
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, I think it's very highly entertaining. I really do enjoy it. I know I've been attacking it like crazy, but like,
that's what we do.
I mean, it's got flaws. Yeah, it's got flaws, and like, when I was a kid, I loved this movie.
Oh yeah,
and that's the only reason I'm really attacking it, is because this is the first time I've watched it in probably a decade, and it was so weird watching it because there are so many issues with the script. The CGI is crazy noticeable. Like, it's very weird. I still like it.
I'm sure it was much more impressible. Yes, it's not bad. You can go in being like, this is an older movie. Okay, yeah, they did a pretty good job. But it is noticeable, heavily noticeable from our standards. Yeah. I will agree.
Yeah, because it's like whenever he starts flying around New York or web swinging around New York, it's very woo! Yeah, it's just weird though. It's a very obvious cut to CGI. And I'm just like, I mean, it's not bad. It is fine. It's just very shiny. The sun is so fucking prevalent on everything.
Yeah, the reflection is everywhere all the time.
And it hurts so much that I'm just like, my God, like, that's really what bothers me with the CGI is that. But it's still good. I still enjoy the story. I enjoy the direction. The acting is all fun. It kind of has a bit of that like Tim Burton Batman feel, like Sam Raimi brought in a bit of that, but for the most part still kept it very jovial, very bright. And that's kind of the point of Spider-Man, is he's supposed to be like this quippy, bright, happy person who's suffered a lot of loss, but he's still able to go out to the battlefield and just make jokes all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I think they understood that pretty well and brought that to the table. Should have still been more quippy. I think, Spider-Man should make more jokes, but I'm still giving it a 3.5 stars because it's still really fun. Yeah, it's still a pretty damn solid Spider-Man film. Mm-hmm. For the last 20 years of all the Spider-Man films we've got, this is still like top 3, top 5 at least.
That's fair. It's a really good film, I think. It is very formulaic, but maybe it kind of set the pace for the formula that we see in the movies.
That's fair.
It is a lot earlier than I thought, but it also, at the same time, maybe that's not fair because it does have that hero mythos to it, like very closely to what Star Wars has, and the Batman movies came out much before this, but this definitely feels like what everyone goes to say what a superhero movie is, I feel like. And
right.
I think it is because it isn't just dark and broody like Batman is. Right. I give it 100% a full face. It's a good movie. I enjoy returning to it. I think the second one's better. It's one of the few trilogies that I feel that way about.
Yeah, I can't.
So I'm excited.
That was like one of the funny things about this playlist is like, I feel like with Blade, we're going to have less and less to talk about with each movie because there's not, maybe Blade Trinity will have more to talk about, but I don't think so. I think it'll be similar to Blade 2.
I hope
that's going off of very little. I hope we do, but at the same time, like I don't know. I don't remember Blade Trinity too much, so like maybe. Right. I don't know. When we rewatch it, maybe I'll have more to say. But like, I feel like with the Spider-Man films, we're just gonna have more and more to talk about with each film because like it's like I love number 2, and then number 3 brings in so many things to talk about that I feel like that'll
so
just
many
be
things to shit on. Yeah, for sure. Sorry,
but no, I agree with you. With number 1, it's pretty damn solid. I did one of another complaint. I know I don't want to end on a complaint, but I will. So I'm sorry, all lovers of Spider-Man 2002 out there. But, like, there's a lot of scenes that just, it's like, why did they happen? Like, specifically, there's a fire scene. There's an apartment on fire. Spidey shows up to save a kid. He goes in there, saves the kid. And when he comes out, there's another scream up there. He goes back up to save somebody. And then, lo and behold, it's a fight between him and the Green Goblin now. And then after, like, 2 minutes of pretty solid stuff that I'm just like, hell yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Spidey just leaves. He just ducks out and Green Goblin's like, I'll get you next time, Spider-Man. And it's just like, what the fuck was this scene?
He was Why does late it end for like dinner.
He was late for dinner. No, but it's just like, there's so many scenes like that end so weird.
Yeah, you're right. They do.
Yeah.
And maybe there's like some deleted parts of those scenes.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, it really felt like something was missing.
Maybe. It's possible. Well,
but whatever.
I think that's the show.
It is the show. Sorry to end on a complaint, but no, I did like this movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Thank you for tuning in. I love you all, Couch Potatoes. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am the Faceless Leon, the stretchiest experiment on Earth. Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. Are you a fan of the show? Feel free to contact us at greenandfacelessfans@gmail.com or visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/greenandfaceless. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, or rate us on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening.